All right, welcome everyone who's joining online. I'm really excited to have a very special guest today to interview. We're going to talk about turtles. We're going to talk about ocean plastics. We can talk about what you're going to be able to do to help with the ocean plastic crisis that we have in a meaningful way. So with that, I want to introduce Jessica Patterson. She is the 2023 Patty Wavemaker Award. That's an award given by the Dive Equipment Manufacturing Association for people who have made a significant contribution to the industry. She accepted that award last year. She's a certified veterinary technician working at the Brevard Zoo and Sea Turtle Healing Center in Melbourne, Florida. Jessica, really excited to have you. I see on your wrist, you have our Descent G1 Ocean Edition. This is the first dive computer that's made from recycled ocean plastics. They come from fish nets. We use that for the housing. We're really excited to have a product that is helping prevent those things from going to the ocean. But I'm super excited to talk to you today about the work you do, learn about sea turtles. I think you have a ton to share. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction. I'm very excited to be here and talk to you all about ocean conservation and sea turtle medicine. As you can see, I am in the hospital. So this hospital, not only do we get to care for the sea turtles here, but this is also the hospital for the entire zoo. So you are going to see some foot traffic coming in and out. Could be some animals. Might have a guest come in, see us in a minute, maybe we'll see. So again, like you're going to see lots of people walking around behind me and stuff, but again, this is a working hospital. So I'm just excited to show where we get to work and where we get to care for all of these sea turtles.
Excellent. So let's get a little bit more of your background. So how did you decide to devote your career to helping sea turtles?
So I have always been fascinated with marine life. I grew up in San Diego, and just the ocean was always where I wanted to be. I was a water baby. You couldn't get me out of the pool. Swimming, water polo, all that. And then I also grew this fascination for cold, scaly things. So sea turtles just kind of made sense. There was a moment at the kind of beginning of my career when I was trying to really think about what I wanted to do. And I knew that I wanted to work with sharks or sea turtles. Right out of high school, I started working at SeaWorld as an aquarist. So I took care of their sea turtles, their rays, sharks, fish, all that stuff. So I was really immersed in the cold, scaly marine things.
Mm-hmm.
And
sounds very typical for a Southern Californian young girl.
Absolutely. And I just remember like the first day that I held, there was a little juvenile green sea turtle, and we were moving them onto exhibit. And this turtle is like flapping, it's pooping on me. It's a hot mess. And I just, in that moment, I was like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. And so it just from there, just after that moment of holding a little sea turtle for the first time, was just kind of really shaped my trajectory. There are so many ways that you can work with marine life as well. So it's like you can do research, be a biologist, write papers about, population studies, or you can work what I did as an aquarist, so husbandry, feeding, cleaning up after them, making sure their water parameters are correct, things like that. Or you can do the other route, which is veterinary medicine, which is where I ended up. After caring for the sea turtles at SeaWorld, I would also take care of their rehab sea turtles as well. So the sick and injured ones, not just the ones that they had in their collection. So after caring for those few rehab turtles, I was like, I think this is exactly where I need to be. This is where my heart's pulling me. I want to do my part for the turtles in the wild now. So I went to school for veterinary nursing through Purdue. And then I passed and got board certified last year. So I'm a certified veterinary technician.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that was it. It was a lot working full time, doing school, trying to, just live a life. I mean, everybody's got to do it, especially if you need to hustle to get to where you want.
And Purdue, you probably had to travel a little ways to see marine life from Indiana.
Yeah. So luckily they have an online program. So I
Okay.
did most of my schooling online, but I did go up there for my mentorships. So down here it's a little bit hard to work on like cows and horses and large animal stuff. So I did end up going to Purdue for my mentorships, and I got to see the campus and stuff. But I wouldn't have been able to work full time with the sea turtles and stuff. But there was a little bit of traveling involved.
All right, and so now you've found your way to Melbourne, Florida,
Yeah.
and the Brevard Zoo,
Yeah.
in the Turtle Healing Center.
Yeah. So 6 years ago, I joined the team here, really diving just into sea turtle medicine and rehabilitation. And it's been fun. Sea turtle medicine is relatively young in the grand scheme of things, so there are so many opportunities for anybody to create new treatment plans or ways to care for these animals in care. So even myself, I have come up with a couple of different ways of like making sure they get the proper nutrition, or I even introduced the idea of chiropractic care for sea turtles. Yes, they, most of their vertebra is fused in their carapace, so their shell. But if you have a neck injury, we found out that if they're dealing with that, it kind of affects the way that they breathe. So we use chiropractic care to help fix a couple patients. So it's just like I said, it's a really young field to be in, and it's really exciting.
Yeah.
I love to think out of the box.
So as scuba divers, we get really excited when we see sea turtles, and we probably don't know that much about sea turtles. So what are some fun facts that we as divers should know about these amazing creatures when we see them?
Absolutely. So sea turtles have been around for 200 million years. The most prehistoric sea turtle is called the archelon, and this turtle was like over 20 feet from nose to tail. Just a massive creature. I always think about like what it would be like to rehab one of those patients. Probably a nightmare, but I'm down for it. So they are so well suited to where they live. They cannot pull their limbs in like a tortoise. They are fusiform, or hydrodynamic for swimming. So they gave up that ability to pull in like their cousins so they could swim well. They still breathe air just like you and me. They're, like I said, they're reptiles, and they like to live in warmer waters because as reptiles, they're not warm-blooded. They have to live in a warm environment to survive. The leatherbacks are one of the species of sea turtles that can handle cooler weather. So they're even actually a more ancient species of sea turtles. They are related, but in a distant manner to our modern day sea turtles, which are green turtles, loggerheads, hawksbills, etc. But their leatherbacks are kind of more prehistoric, if you will. So I mean, there's so many cool sea turtle fun facts. They have flippers. I know as divers we don't like that word, but they're called flippers because they
Okay.
have bone in them. So that's the difference between fins and flippers. Flippers have bones, just like you and me, and fins are made of cartilage. So they have only flippers. And each species is specially designed for what they eat. Like, for example, green turtles eat seagrasses and algae, which these seagrasses and algae can unfortunately be covered in pollutants, plastics, fishing line, which is why we see most plastic ingestion in green turtles out of all the species. It's because of where they like to hang out and
What they eat.
what they eat. Correct.
Yeah.
Loggerheads eat things like crabs, clams, mollusks, hard-bodied animals. So they have these giant heads for that crushing power. They actually have a bite force of 500 psi. So it's not really a creature that you want to be, too close to, especially if it's a male loggerhead during breeding season. couple things can happen to you. One of them, you get bit. The other one, well, you might look like a very, very beautiful female loggerhead. So just give them their distance. Just an example of
Yeah, how big are they? You showed this to me earlier, but
yeah.
this is
So
incredible.
this is an adult loggerhead skull. So like I said, these guys, they have a bite force of 500 psi. So your masseter muscles are the muscles that you use to crunch down with. So these caverns right here, that's all where that masseter muscle sits. And you can see, I mean, it's bigger than my hand. So they're just ginormous creatures. I don't think that people can fully appreciate just how large these animals can get. So this
Chewing
turtle
on a crab is really not a shellfish is not a hard task for these turtles.
no, absolutely not. I mean, they'll crunch right through them. One of their favorite foods is like horse conchs out here. I mean, and you can hear them underwater too. I have heard them before seeing them, like crunching down on their food. It's really incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. So just an animal to give a wide berth to. And just out of respect to their space. So right now it's sea turtle breeding season. A lot of the females are tired from being harassed by the males, so they're in the corals and under rocks trying to sleep, trying to regain that energy. So just give them their space and let them do what they need to do, because if they see you and you spook them, they are looking at you while trying to swim away. So you could potentially scare them into some rocks, some coral, they get hurt. So just, just like any other animal, give them their space. You can tell when they don't want to be around you. They will swim away. They will swim away. So let them swim away.
Give them space. Don't touch the sea turtles.
Absolutely. And especially like in Florida, it's illegal to touch, harass, collect sea turtle, anything. So it's up to a $10,000 fine or a few days in jail. So sure. we like our turtles out here.
Respect the turtles. So, and you're a scuba diver. You mentioned you've been diving for quite some time. You hear them while you're diving. How long have you been diving? Did you start that in California?
Yeah, I did. So I got scuba certified 15 years ago, right out of high school, because I knew that I wanted a job in, the ocean, doing something ocean related. So it was definitely part of that requisite. And then at SeaWorld, I was diving every day, cleaning my exhibits. So lots of underwater time. When I moved out here, I don't dive the pools here that we have our turtles in. So I my diving backed off, and I'm just like, it sucks. I felt a little dry behind the gills. And then I went diving a few times to help biologists catch turtles and things like that, but it wasn't consistent anymore. And then in 2022, I met the dive shop that I now work for, Ohana Dive Co. And they kind of like goaded me into going diving with them at Blue Heron Bridge. This was when DEMA was in Orlando. So I was like, okay, like, I mean, I just met you guys, but you're really convincing me to go. And it was the best decision I made. Since then, I started on the professional side. I got my dive master last June, and then became an instructor in October. So, and I'm their remote staff. We kind of make this work where we start open water students, and they're up in Tennessee. So the dive shop itself is up in Tennessee. And they start the open water students, they do their pool work up there, and then they send them down to me to finish up their open water stuff in the ocean. So I think that helps really solidify like just how cool diving is, and it makes them want to come back and diving more.
And do you guarantee your students to be able to see turtles on their checkout dives?
I wish I could. There is, like, I'd like to take them to Blue Heron Bridge, and there is one little green turtle that lives there. And I do see him quite frequently. I think the locals have named him Barnacle Bill because he's got one big barnacle on him. But yeah, it's just this little green turtle. I know where he sleeps, and I always take my students there hoping that he's there. But
so not guaranteed to see him, but guaranteed to learn about the turtles, I bet.
Absolutely. And after we finish their checkout, I mean, I know spots where we can find them. So I tell them like, hey, well, if you want to see a turtle, like now that you're certified, I'll take you out somewhere else, get you like on the boat, go see them.
So, all right. So you're here in the Brevard Zoo Turtle Healing Center, and I know you're not here working with healthy turtles. So tell me a little bit about what you do. Where do you find turtles that need help? What kind of help do they need? What's a day in the life of the Turtle Healing Center?
I love this question because I can't answer it because every day is different. I never know what turtle is going to walk through the door. I'm on call 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Florida Wildlife Conservation Commission, or FWC, can call at any moment with a turtle. Even though I'm on call only 8 to 8, I obviously would take a turtle in at 2 a.m. So we frequently see just a lot of natural chronic debilitation. So it'll be a turtle with like a parasite, or they ate something bad, something more natural. Shark attacks. We do get shark attack turtles every year, multiple. And so those ones, they're a little like, they're not as heavy on the heart because it's like not human related, but obviously like uh, we do our best to get them back out in the wild. And this is where we we get these little patients called little crusty green turtles. And what that is exactly what it sounds like. It's they're little juvenile green turtles that are covered in barnacles and algae because they've been slow, they don't feel good. So they're just collecting all of these things on them. And we get them in March. So at the end of winter, they were out in the winter getting cold, not doing much, and a bunch of stuff starts growing on them, makes them sick. And then they all like to strand at one time. It's usually like 1 week in March and April where we will get like 20 plus turtles just out of nowhere. And it's all these little crusty green turtles. So that's more of that natural debilitation, but we do see a lot of boat strikes. And unfortunately, most of these boat strikes are fatal. If you think about like the sea turtle carapace at the top of their shell, the lungs sit on top of it. It's connected to the top side of the shell, and so is the spine. So if you have a boat come across it, it's either hitting the lungs or transecting the spine, which are fatal injuries. Or when a turtle comes up to breathe, the first thing that comes up is their face. So we get a lot of facial injuries as well. And since they are reptiles, they survive a lot of traumatic injuries. And even though they're fatal, they don't pass away. Like mammals are relatively fragile. Any of the stuff that these sea turtles endure, a mammal would die within the day. So you get a lot of heartbreaking stuff like that. One of the things that I really like to talk about is we have the Indian River Lagoon. So we have two rivers that separate mainland from the ocean. And in these rivers, we have a ton of life. Sea turtles, manatees, dolphins, sharks, all of that. And we're seeing these animals come back with propeller strikes. Well, there's something called a prop guard that you can put on your boat, and what it does it's there to actually protect your prop from hitting ground, plants, exactly any of that. But it also can save a lot of marine life. So the injuries that we see, it's not from the hull of the boat, it's from the propellers. So that prop guard could potentially save a ton of lives, and I wish that it was talked about more and was pushed more, especially for the boats that don't leave the Indian River Lagoon. Like there's plenty of fishermen and boaters that only stay in the lagoon where it's a ton of wildlife. So
right. And this is probably true any place where you have a lot of sea life.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Prop guards aren't something we hear a lot about, but as divers, I know a lot of us do have, experience around boats or have our own boats. So,
right. Yeah, it's just something that I like to talk about. Yes, there is a little bit of potential drag involved, but like in the grand scheme of things, like really not that much. Like a lot of the boaters I've talked to, like, well, I don't want to slow down my boat. I'm like, well, I don't want you to, hit these endangered animals that are already struggling as it is. So boat strikes, fishing line. We have 2 patients right now that are actually in here. So these are bags of rope from crab pots. So a crab pot is like a little metal basket that crabs crawl into and can't get out. It's a little metal basket with a rope attached to it, and there's a buoy at the surface. So, if a turtle comes and swims up to the rope and they get caught in it, then they're dragging not just the crab pot, but the line, the buoy. And both of these turtles lost one front flipper from it because the rope was so tight around their limb that they lost circulation. And then by the time they came to us, it was zombie flippers. So it's there's a lot of things that we're putting into the ocean that are so detrimental, like intentionally putting that in. And then there's all the unintentional stuff, which is fishing line and, plastics. This is plastic from one turtle. One turtle pooped all of this out.
A single turtle.
A single turtle.
Did the turtle come in because it had plastic that it had ingested?
Yes.
So how does that present itself?
They come in lethargic. They're usually very distended and gassy. On ultrasound, X-rays, you can see it. And they stopped eating because stuff is not also coming out. So it's like they show it, but like I said,
that was a green. That was one of the green turtles.
This is a green turtle. So like I said, the green turtle's food, where they eat the seagrasses and algae, that's where all of this plastic sits.
Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the smaller turtles. Give us an idea, how big is a green turtle?
So green turtle can get up to 400 pounds. This turtle itself was about 10 to 12. And so that's a tiny turtle eating like a bunch of plastic. Then this isn't the first time that we've seen this. We also had another turtle come in. She had 143 pieces of plastic in her stomach. Unfortunately, this turtle was euthanized due to the chronic illness from it. But we found 8 paper straws in her stomach.
Wow.
So the problem
with paper straws.
Yes. The problem with paper straws is that they have a wax coating, which makes them not digestible. And so it's just everything. Like we just need to consume less in general. Sure. And that's even like reusable bags. I feel like so many people have reusable, like we have so many reusable bags. I mean, people gift them to me. I have like 20 and I'm like, which is great. But in general, we just need to be making less of everything because all of that surplus ends up somewhere. And unfortunately, a lot of the times it ends up back in the ocean. And microplastics are another big problem that we have. So we get baby turtles in at the end of like hurricane season or after hurricanes. So this is all microplastics from 3 tiny turtles that unfortunately lost their lives from all the plastic they ingested. So microplastics come from bigger pieces of plastic. One way I like to encourage people to pick up trash is like, so if this one big piece of trash turns into 120 small pieces of plastic, that means that you've potentially saved 120 turtles from eating plastic. That makes it feel a little bit better picking up one piece of trash. So plastic never goes away. It just gets smaller. And, we're finding it in our bloodstream now. We're all plastic. Yeah.
So, and you told me another source of plastic is people walking down the beach. They pick up the dog poop and then they leave the bag there to come back for it, but it washes away before they come back.
Yeah. So actually, this patient, these black bags in here, they are doggy poop bags.
So paper straws.
It's like we're trying hard, but just in general, we just need to consume less things that aren't like throwaway products, single-use products in general. We just need to use less of them.
All right. So we have microplastics, plastics, we have boat props, we have crab pot lines. There's all these problems. It starts to feel a little bit overwhelming. So what can we do? What's the what's the silver lining here? What can we do to make a difference?
When I teach about conservation, you're right, it sounds very daunting. Plastic is a huge problem. And I think that we are so desensitized to talking about it. Because we've heard from birth, pick up your trash, pick up your trash. It's like, yes, we know this. But you need to have, most people these days need to have a good motivation. And so through the stories of my turtles, talking about just conservation in general, like you make things tangible. And I love not just teaching conservation, but how to talk it in a way that is infectious, that's easy to talk to and easy to understand. So tangible. Like plastic is a global problem, and no one person can fix that. It takes everybody putting in a little bit of effort, not perfection. Just that little bit of effort goes a long way. Just to put this into perspective. So if you're walking down the street, you see a piece of trash, people will think, oh, well, the person behind me will get it, or, the city will come clean it up, whatever. It'll eventually get taken care of. But we can't say that as divers. If we're out in the ocean and we see a piece of plastic, what's the chance that another diver is going to come across that? Very small. As divers, we're in this big community and we think that there is a lot of divers on this planet. Well, out of the US population, only 1%, it's actually less than 1% of people are actually active scuba divers. So that's not that many people in the grand scheme of things that are out there picking up trash in the ocean. That's why it just puts that emphasis on that one piece of plastic. It might not ever see a human again.
Yeah, you might be the chance for that plastic to make it out of the ocean.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right, so I want to learn more about the steps we can take. I want to talk about some of the cleanup programs, but it looks like you might have a guest.
Yeah, you might have heard him
nearby.
Yes, so I would love to introduce one of our patients named Bodie. So, buddy, I'm not going to do something. I got a whole bunch of people that want to meet you. So this is Bodie. Bodie is a juvenile green turtle. Hey, buddy. So get that. Look at that. Okay. So Bodie is a juvenile green turtle that came to us with a laceration, a really bad laceration on one of the flippers. It was such a clean cut. It would make the most sense if they were end up wrapped up in fishing line and then we're able to kind of get out of it. But unfortunately, that cut went all the way down to the humerus bone. So that was an immediate need to address that because that you just had bone exposure. Unfortunately, also the laceration or the cut led to this animal being septic. So they have bacteria in their blood, and this bacteria is attacking their joints. So we have some joint inflammation and some osteomyelitis. And the osteomyelitis is a bone infection, which can be very, very painful. So Bodie here is on a couple of different types of broad spectrum antibiotics. They're out here for treatment, so I was just going to go ahead and give them their injection to help with this septicemia. And so far, they're looking actually really well. And we're getting ahead of all of these little infections that they have on their joint. So we're going to go ahead and give the injection. So again, like I said, sea turtle medicine is relatively new in the grand scheme of things. We're finding out different types of medications and procedures that work better for them. This is a common broad spectrum antibiotic for cattle that I'm using, and it's like I said, it's great for this osteomyelitis. So I just wanted to get a live turtle on the camera for you guys. I just think it's really cool to show just that this is like the most common patient that we get is these little juvenile green turtles. I know you're excited to be here. Especially off of our coast and in Central Florida, this is what is most prominent. And I like to think that we see most of these in rehab because they are a very curious species and they're always up to trouble. Isn't that right? Yeah. So I I just wanted to show you guys a turtle. I'm glad you guys got to meet Bodhi. Thank you, Emily, for bringing me Bodhi. And we'll get back to talking turtle.
How can your heart not just melt a little bit seeing Bodhi there getting his treatment?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, they're just, but I'm a little biased.
That
So I'm glad we got to bring Bodhi out for you guys. So we currently have 18 patients, 4 loggerheads, and the rest of them are little green turtles from dealing with various problems. We were talking about fishing line, and I wanted to show you guys how detrimental fishing line can be, not just externally but internally as well. I want to talk about this patient who is like near and dear to my heart. It really like solidified why I do what I do, and it shows just the integrity of sea turtles. So I'd love to talk about Venus, who's a juvenile green turtle, and if we could bring up Venus's intake photo. So this, I know it's hard to look at, but this is the reality. This is the reality of fishing line that is improperly discarded. So this turtle ended up wrapped up in fishing line, and it wrapped around both front flippers and started cutting down to the bone, just like Bodhi's injury, except it was both front flippers. So it actually broke both humerus bones. And if we could show the video of her swimming, you can see, hi little turtle. So when they swim away, you can kind of see they're having a hard time moving those front flippers. And that is actually because the humerus bones were completely fractured. So you can see that there's not much movement happening as they're trying to swim. So if you could show the x-ray, when the top photo is the injury when they came in. So you can see that humerus bone is not even connected. So they're trying to move their flippers, and there's no integrity in those flippers to even move them. And then below is 2 years later. You could see that the bones recalcified. They're very ugly humerus bones, but they work, and they're probably way stronger than they were before. So it just goes to show the integrity of sea turtles, but it also it shows what they endure. They suffer a lot. And like I said, 2 years later, we released this turtle. If you want to show the release photo, that's me trying to not cry as I release this turtle back out into the ocean. It's a very, bittersweet moment.
Wow. So that's incredible to see some of these turtles that come in with severe problems. And 2 years you had that patient.
Yeah.
And is that a typical amount of time for rehabilitation?
No, not at all. We really went back and forth, and we're deciding if this turtle was releasable or not because of the injury. So they never quite swam the same way. Like they were very stiff. But by the end of 2 years, because we were thinking about we were gonna have to rehome them and put them in an aquarium. And by the end of 2 years, though, we're watching this turtle and we're like, this turtle can swim just fine. Let's give him a chance. Get him back out. That is always our goal. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary of doing turtle stuff out here, and over the 10 years, we've only homed 2 turtles. So we take it very seriously when we have to consider putting a sea turtle into an aquarium and being an ambassador for their species. So, the goal is always release back to the ocean.
That's great.
Yeah, so that was a really cool moment for all of us after just 2 years of working with that turtle. And definitely one of those moments. I actually have them tattooed on my arm. They're one of my favorite stories. Absolutely.
Wow. So the problem seems massive. We started talking a little bit about what we can do, but what are some things? We're divers. We love the ocean. We see plastic all the time. We probably use paper straws and plastic straws. What are all the things we can do? It sounds, you said everyone needs to do a little bit, but
right.
What are those actionable things?
So I mean, there is so much you can do, and luckily, like these days, there are more options of buying things that are not in plastic containers. I feel like more companies are starting to work towards doing like lots of shampoos, conditioners, laundry detergents, all that stuff. It's in a liquid form, but a lot of these companies are starting to not to move away from the liquid form, so we don't have to have the plastic containers. So like I use bar shampoos and conditioners, which are great. They've come a long way in the last few years, especially, you know, we like to have nice hair, so I like to use nice product, but there's a lot of good hair products that are not in a plastic bottle anymore, but they're better for the environment. And like I said, laundry detergents, you have the sheets now, which, you know, there's always pluses and minuses to everything. Some of those companies with the plastic or with the sheets for laundry detergent, they're finding microplastics in them. Like, okay, so it's the biggest thing is doing your own research. Conservation takes effort, and that is unfortunately why we are in this position with all this plastic, is because we're lazy. Plastic is convenient, and that is why we are in this position. So
But making daily choices that are, you know, small choices, they add up over time.
absolutely. You know, if you go out to eat a lot and you take food home, bring your own container. Make your girlfriend carry it. She probably has a purse. You know, it doesn't. It's just like little choices like that. The more we choose single use items, the less we choose single use items, the better. And it's just, again, it's effort, and unfortunately a lot of people don't want to do that, and it doesn't. There's no instant reward for that, other than knowing in your heart that you're making the right decision. It's like we live off of this life where it's like, I want instant rewards. I mean, look at like social media, likes on your photos, it feels great. You don't get that with conservation and recycling. You don't get that immediate thing. But for example, look at the green sea turtle. The Atlantic green sea turtle specifically, just got taken off of the endangered list. The population did, because it's doing so well because we have made active choices and decisions to protect them and do what it takes to take care of them. So like
So we can make things better. It's still
absolutely
possible. So how do we make sure that the plastic we are using, because we can't avoid plastic entirely
absolutely
with how we are today,
it's
how do we make
impossible.
sure that it doesn't end up in the ocean?
So just I mean, it's kind of a hard situation because we need to hold each other accountable. I mean, during the summer out here, it's like I try to, like, I go to the beach and I just see like kids' toys floating away down the ocean, or like beach balls floating out, and it's just, you can politely say things like, "Hey, your stuff is floating away. You care?" But it's also just that active decision of potentially bringing less plastic, say, to the beach or next to water sources. Like when you go, like for here, we have Publix, we like pub subs and all that stuff. So don't get the plastic bag over your pub sub. Put it in a reusable bag. So just bring less things that could potentially blow away into the ocean.
Right. Anything you take to the beach or in the
Needs to
boat
come back
has a
out.
potential to get blown away.
Yeah, and it needs to come back out.
And 120 turtles that piece of plastic could it's
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. So that one piece of plastic, and again, it's we all know that it's a problem, but
Mhm.
and we all feel like it's so daunting,
Yeah.
but it's
So
not. Here,
but
it's
there's
not.
more we can do. It's not just, it's great to take part. We've got Patty dive against debris, and I love
Absolutely.
taking part in that and collecting our
Yeah,
trash. That's really meaningful to get that out of the ocean. But it's also making choices when we're around the ocean, making sure that the plastic we have ends up in a good space, and trying to avoid using plastic.
absolutely. Just in general, those single use items are really what's killing us, and
Yeah.
the clothing industry too is a huge component to pollution. A lot of clothes that I actually buy them secondhand off of like Mercari, ThredUp, Poshmark.
Hmm.
There's tons of options to get clothes secondhand. Um, I dive with Converse instead of booties, so I actually get secondhand Converse for my dive booties, and
I love that.
yeah,
Stylish and good for the
absolutely.
environment.
And they're like, I mean, to me, they're way more comfortable and they dry better than neoprene.
Yeah.
So, and then I always, like you were talking, you brought up PADI and diving against debris, and like I just wholeheartedly love those classes. And I love teaching them. Any of the PADI project aware classes, they're just phenomenal. And I highly encourage shops and instructors to, like, you are the beginning step for your divers to become good stewards. You
Right.
can
We can not just be advocates. We can create advocates from others that we dive with.
100%. Like, I take it so seriously, and the power of a good dive shop is just like, it's just endless. It really is. And like, I mean, a great example is the dive shop that I work for. I mean, look at where I am now. I would not be where I am without them guiding me in their help. So
Yeah.
it's just, that's so much motivation to me to be a great instructor. As instructors, we aren't just creating safe divers. We are, like for PADI Torchbearer, we want to protect the ocean, and so we want to bring people into the ocean who want to do the same, and
Right.
we think about their action.
I love that. And we as divers, we understand the problem probably better than most. So
Absolutely.
like
I was saying,
be advocates, let people know. So so we have a bunch of questions coming in from the audience. I want to make sure I get to some of those. So one of the questions is around just diving with turtles. Someone talks about a trip to the Bahamas, and they had people on the boat who were chasing the turtles and trying to interact with them. How do you let people know that that's not okay, or what can we do to kind of share what we all learned today about how detrimental that can be?
So it's hard because people are very defensive, and but you should absolutely be a voice when you know something's not right. If I mean, especially with the sea turtle, it is quite obvious when they don't enjoy what is happening. So you can remind them that A, they're an endangered species and they're stressed out as it is. B, like, you are disturbing like their natural patterns in that area by chasing them away. And they could easily run into, rocks, corals, like I said, and it's just not, it's so hard. It's like such a hard battle because people want to be people and they want to have these like once in a lifetime interactions. But it's like, passive interaction is the best type of interaction because then both participants want to be there. And
right. And you can see the turtle behaving in their natural way.
Yeah. So it's again, passive interaction is great for the turtles, and just reminding people all 7 species of sea turtles are threatened and endangered.
Yeah. So another question is about degradable plastics. We hear a lot about plastics that are biodegradable or degrade over time.
Yeah. The question is when.
Right.
Especially like biodegradable plastics. I mean, thinking about the reusable straws, or sorry, not reusable straws, the paper straws, or the degrading plastic that we use in straws, like that can still be eaten by an animal if it makes it out to the ocean.
Yeah.
So, it that's great in a, like, when you think about a dump and it just degrades, but also the problem about that is that anything, like, we are putting so much trash in the dump, anything under 10 feet becomes anaerobic and no longer breaks down. So all of those biodegradable plastics, if they are covered with 10 feet of other trash, they no longer break down.
So maybe biodegradable, but probably not in our lifespan. So it's still probably better to get the materials that are not plastic based.
Correct. So just in, like, that's what I'm saying, just in general, use less single-use plastics.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what you said, that preventing things from getting in the ocean, preventing using them in the first place is great. We can't always do that. We've talked a ton about consumer plastics, but I've read that over half, almost 2/3 of the plastic in the Great Pacific plastic garbage pile is actually from fishing industry waste.
Absolutely.
And so, with our G1 Ocean edition, the Descent G1 Ocean, where the plastic is coming from fish nets. You showed a crab entanglement, but how important is it that we find uses for this ocean plastic, that we can try and actually turn it into something better?
Absolutely. So there's lots of companies who are reclaiming these plastics and turning them into something else. One of those big names is like 4Ocean. And the one of my favorite diving tools is my trash bag. That's what it's called. It's called trash bag, and they use like reclaimed tire pieces on it. There are some like billboard signs. It's like signage they use to make the actual bag itself, and that's just for you to grab plastic and put it in. It's just like it's a nice pocket. So there are lots of companies doing that and repurposing these plastics, but unfortunately, with that, it takes a lot of money, and that's where support of companies like that really come in hand, because it takes a lot of money to go collect the plastic and then turn it into something else. And a lot of these plastics, they're brittle and they really can't be used again. But plastic never disappears. So that's why it's so important that we take what we have. It's there. It might not be the form that you need it right now, but let's change it into what you need it to be, which is what's great about this watch.
That's one of those. That's a story that there's this. It's maybe not a myth that ocean plastics is potentially hard to deal with, but if we're able to turn this into a dive watch that's rated to 100 meters and it's super tough, it's military standard 810 rated. We don't build watches at Garmin that aren't tough, and so if we can turn ocean plastic into something powerful that you can dive with and take back into the ocean as you're picking out debris, there really should be more opportunities to work with this. So one of the things I'd like to do is dispel kind of the myth that ocean plastic can't be used for something better, and we should be trying to mine it from the ocean and turn it into something more beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a testament to this watch too. Like I wear it every day. I use it for not just diving, but I'm a runner. I do paddleboarding, all that stuff. And my other job is on a shark diving boat, and it's a relatively like rugged job. And this has definitely sustained a lot of use in this, like in that industry. And it's still just like beautiful and it works. I've never had a problem with it. So it's going to stand the test of time for sure.
Yeah. I hope we see more of this coming to across industry, of pulling ocean plastics out, and instead of thinking that we have to make new plastic all the time, maybe we have enough made. Maybe there's enough out there already that we can reuse it.
Right. Well, there's definitely enough plastic out there. We're heading to a way where there's going to be more plastic than fish out in the ocean.
Okay, I have a question on a little bit different. Is there a website where we can report encounters for turtles and ghost nets or cleanups to help organize the surrounding people and dive centers?
So I know that Patty does have something on their website that through their Project Aware, where they will announce beach cleanups. In terms of sea turtle interactions, I mean, if we're talking on a global scale, you have to look at whatever your local fish and wildlife group is. For here it's FWC for Florida. So it's just really kind of localized. And there's a website called Sea Turtles. It's SEE Turtles, and that has a really cool global map of sea turtle work that is being done. There's, I mean, there's a ton of information out there, but I would start local, looking for where to report sea turtle incidents and stuff, because it all changes depending on where you are.
Got it. SEE turtle.
Yeah.
There's a question about, do you get turtles from outside of the Florida area?
No, we do not. So we will take turtles from different counties depending on what is happening. If we have like a mass stranding, we have a relatively large facility, so we'll take turtles in from other places in Florida. But there are a few facilities that help with like the Kemp's Ridleys up north in Massachusetts, like to strand and get cold stunned in like the thousands. And there's other facilities that will take those. But during the winter, our location with the Indian River Lagoon, we have our own potential of a massive cold stunning event. So they like to keep our facility nice and open just in case that happens. In 2010, we had like 6,000 turtles cold stun. So if that was to repeat again, we want to make sure that we have the space for that. But outside of Florida, we don't take turtles. But we have gotten turtles that have come from the Yucatan they were tagged, so we knew where they came from. And it was an adult female turtle. We named her Guacamole, and she got bit by a shark. And through those tags that she had, we were able to tell that she came from the Yucatan, which was like so cool.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
So I hope there's more centers like the Brevard Zoo that are helping take care of turtles around the world. You mentioned SEEturtle.com .org is a place to find more information about turtles and potentially something in your area. So really exciting. I want to thank you for joining us today. This has been incredible. I've learned so much about turtles. I am going to try and use less single-use plastic. Look for products that are not contained in plastic, maybe other packaging. Tell people about what they can do to pick up. Don't leave your poo on the beach. And other things like that. So, just a bunch of small actions that we can all take, and hopefully we can try and reduce the plastic that's in the ocean. It's incredible to learn about turtles. It's incredible to see what you did. Thank you for introducing us to Bodhi. So yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. This is just an incredible opportunity to talk to a bunch of like-minded people. I really appreciate just the audience for coming and listening. And like I said, we all have the power to be good ocean stewards. So one of my favorite things to teach my students is take some time to cut some line in terms of fishing line. So there's a lot of people that pass by fishing line because they just don't want to collect it. Well, okay, if you don't want to collect it, that's fine, but cut it into smaller pieces so that it's no longer an entanglement problem. Or if it was to be ingested, they could actually eat it and poop it out, because sometimes it'll get stuck in their stomach and stuff. So take the time to cut some line, collect it, even better. But fishing line is probably one of the worst ways sea turtle and just animals in general die, unfortunately. So
yeah,
just being active in picking up things in the ocean that shouldn't be there.
A lot of small steps. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys very much for having me.